Please refrain from making rash statements, Nerys. Glenna smiled weakly as she opened her fan. Although she seemed to be warning Nerys, she couldn't hide the satisfaction in her eyes. The second prince's wife stood between them awkwardly, a troubled expression on her face. She lowered the hand holding the necklace and bowed her head. I'm sorry, wife of the first prince. But I can't give this to you. You still don't know how to read the situation, do you? As soon as the second prince's wife refused, Glenna's tone turned icy. Do you really think you're royalty just because you accidentally got the seat next to the second prince? How long do you think this will last? There was talk of you being removed once already. Glenna spoke without hesitation and pointed at Nerys. Nerys here has a deep relationship with Prince Franz. Everyone agrees that she should have been the second prince's wife. Even Prince Franz himself. The second prince's wife's face turned pale as she listened to Glenna's remarks. Seeing the delicate woman grow pale evoked a moment of pity, as if she might need support at any moment. But Glenna continued as if she felt no ounce of this pity. Do you think I'm doing this because I just want the necklace? I'm trying to give you something to lean on. I can help you. Ms. Rockenak has a deep relationship with Prince Franz? If you don't believe it, see for yourself. Glenna spoke dryly and looked at Nerys, who happily pulled an envelope from her chest. It is a letter from His Highness the Second Prince. Would you like to read it? I tell you, read it. Nerys forced the envelope into the second princess's frozen hand and urged her to open it and read it. As her eyes scanned the sweet words of love written within, her gaze began to tremble violently. No. What do you mean by no? His Highness Prince Franz would never do this. Believe it or not, it's up to you. Either you give the necklace to Lady Glenna now and keep your seat, or you'll be fired later. At Nerys's words, the second prince's wife lowered her head again. Her fragile shoulders began to shake, and Glenna and Nerys exchanged glances. Their eyes sparkled with excitement at the prospect of her downfall. Fools. Aleisha struggled to hold back her laughter. She lowered her gaze and tightened her eye muscles. She had to keep her head down, otherwise, they might notice the corners of her mouth twitching. I shouldn't laugh here. Take it easy, Liz. She pressed the letter hard to hold back her laughter. The paper's crease revealed it slightly, and Glenna laughed coldly. Surely you're not crying, are you? Aleisha bit her lip. Glenna suspected nothing. She didn't realize how useful her recklessness was. This is easier than I thought. To Glenna, Aleisha was just an annoying person who appeared out of nowhere. No, wait, how had she called her? Ignorant peasant woman, right? Aleisha remembered the words Sarah had conveyed. The maid looked very regretful as she transported it, but Aleisha actually felt satisfied. It was comforting to know that Glenna looked down on her. Because the more arrogant the opponent is, the easier it is to beat them. Thanks to Glenna's dismissal, everything became easier. Even if Aleisha had crushed and torn the letter, Glenna would only see it as a pathetic reaction from someone in despair. Aleisia's gaze swept over the crumpled letter. Some of the words made her frown. If you're going to fake it, at least do it right. The letter was supposed to be in Franz's handwriting. But it wasn't. Although the imitation was carefully done, to Aleisia's trained eyes, it was lacking at best. She knew everything about Franz. During the time she loved him, she had studied every detail of him. So the moment she saw the writing, she knew it was fake. At first glance, it might look like Franz's handwriting, but if you looked closely, the lines were a little squiggly. If they really wanted to deceive her, they wouldn't have made this kind of mistake. And again, they underestimated her. If they had known how much she understood Franz, they would not have dared to be so careless. Maybe she should be thankful that they at least put that much effort into the trick. They could only threaten her with empty words. Instead, they chose to put on a show. Well, I guess they tried hard enough to make it worth a response. Aleisha took a deep breath. Time to squeeze out a tear or two. She widened her eyes and focused, eliciting tears. It wasn't difficult. It hadn't been long since the last time she cried. Soon, a clear tear fell on the letter. As the paper became wet, Glenna and Nerys began to murmur happily. Why are you crying? People might think we hit you or something. Did you come here just to cry? Weren't you here to congratulate Lady Glenna? At their sarcastic words, Aleisha bit her lip. She could feel Sarah, behind her, becoming increasingly unsure of what to do. But Aleisha remained calm. She was used to this kind of sarcasm. No, she was used to much worse. Hadn't she escaped the assassin sent by Crichton himself? Words couldn't hurt her now. Really, Aleisha deliberately stuttered. If I gave you the necklace, would that be enough? She slowly raised her head. Of course. I always keep my promises. Glenna's face lit up with joy, as if she had the world in her hands. It looked completely ridiculous. But Aleisha kept her expression blank. Glenna was most likely enjoying her supposed victory. Her document now belonged to her, and Ilian had obtained Dafa. Everything she wanted was falling into her lap. She must have felt like she was on top of the world. This made her even more neglectful. Aleisha had been waiting for this exact moment. The moment Glenna was happiest and least cautious. She raised her hands to her neck. As she began to undo the necklace, Glenna and Nerys both stared intently. Silence fell over the reception room. As she was about to untie it, Aleisha stopped and lowered her hands. Her eyebrows furrowed slightly. Impatiently, Glenna shouted at her. What are you doing? Hand it over now. I need a guarantee. Once I give you the necklace, I will have nothing left to offer. You will have no reason to keep me. So what? Do you want me to write a pledge or something? Will you? Aleisha held out her hands with feigned eagerness. Glenna scoffed. She pointed her finger at a maid. The maid quickly returned with Raha and cartas. What should I write? Glenna asked haughtily, holding up the pen. She was clearly playing the sympathetic boss. Aleisha met Glenna's condescending gaze with steady eyes. Glenna Eustace pledges to absolutely guarantee Aleisha Eustace's safety. No matter what happens, Aleisha Eustace will not be harmed. Glenna's eyebrow twitched. The wording was tougher than I expected. I thought for a moment. Then a sly smile crossed her lips. There was a loophole. The pledge was made to Aleisha Eustace. If you strip Aleisha of her title and change her name, the pledge will become meaningless. I'll get her isolated quickly. Make it Aleisha Ambrose again, and it's over. She thought the second prince's wife was foolish, and this confirmed it. If Aleisha tried to use the pledge after being deposed, it would be worthless. Her final moments would be even more pitiful. A useless piece of paper for a lonely wanderer outside the palace. Satisfied, Glenna wrote the pledge, signed it, and handed the parchment to Aleisha as if it were scrap. Satisfied now? Aleisha read the document carefully. I read it a few times, then nodded. You wrote it correctly. Thanks. Then give it to me now. Glenna exclaimed, extending her hand toward her. Getting this necklace was more troublesome than I expected. She was now completely upset. She wanted the princess's second wife to disappear before her eyes. But Aleisha shook her head calmly, her expression still sober. This is not enough. What now? Glenna asked, tiredly. Aleisha pointed to the signature line. You know very well that a signature alone does not make a pledge binding. You need to bind it with a mana stone. Glenna's lips parted slightly. She opened her mouth to protest, but was quickly interrupted by Aleisha. My survival depends on it. Please, do it for me. At her earnest plea, Glenna clicked her tongue and looked around, thinking. Aleisha read her greedy eyes fixed on the necklace, and smiled faintly to herself.